Man, we on, man. Tap in. When I ain't just come in and tap in, man. Big U sentenced to 600 years and 600 was at the court. Fight broke out. Was there blows? Was it really a fight? Was it just a discretion? I don't know, man. We're gonna check it out. Tune in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Flip Thought Show. It's your host with the most, King Truth, House of Bird, Manny Bo, the one with the word, the one with the flow. And we coming at you live, man, 11:45. And you know we going live, and we live. So just tap in one time. Hit that notification bell so I know y'all there so I can throw it to you when it's in the air, man. Get everybody in the chat. Let's get it going. Excuse me. Big U sentenced to 600 years and 600 was at the court. Like I said, did a fight break out? I don't know. We're going to watch a couple of different videos breaking this down. We're probably going to actually put in the real reason why Eric Holder took out Nip as well in this one. We might stick that in here if we have enough time. If not, we're going to go after this one. We go into the Taseki, the Doty 6, the Dirk, and the Eric Holder. Real reason why Eric Holder took out Nip. All right, let's go. Let's get it. Big shout outs to OG TV 45.
But you don't get a nigga back like that.
Senior boarders court date. Dirty shoes on, flat-footed shower shoes on, looking pathetic in the court date. And he was looking so bad about to cry. The judge said, "Mr. Henry, you okay?" He said, "Oh, I'm just stressed out." Buster shit, bro. You be talking all this high power, tough talk, but these dudes go to jail, bro, be like busters.
If what Christopher...
Oh, shit, my bad.
I know the way that Big U was living was whack, but you don't get a nigga back like that.
Senior boarders court date.
Yep, tap that like button, join the chat, share it.
Looking pathetic in the court date. And he was looking so bad about to cry. The judge said, "Mr. Henry, you okay?" He said, "Oh, I'm just stressed out." Buster shit, bro. You be talking all this high power, tough talk, but these dudes go to jail, bro, be like busters.
Police or not, this nigga 600 is ruthless. He's ruthless. But what's crazy is, right, this is the irony of the whole thing. The whole ball got rolling with Whack 100. We know that he the one first started throwing Big U name out there, whatever. But no, in all honesty, it wasn't even Whack. You can't put it on Whack. It's Hassan Campbell when he leaked the tape. That's when Big U name first started getting dirt on it, right? But what's crazy is the 600 nigga is the one who really like drove it home. Like Whack got the ball rolling, but 600 just like drove it home. And after all that, for Big U to be facing 600 years is just crazy. Just the irony of that is crazy. Nigga named 600 got you jammed up, and now you looking at 600. Moreover, as currently charged, defendant faces a statutory maximum of well over 600 years, even discounting defendant's criminal history due to his age. And currently charged, defendant faces a likely guideline range of life in prison based on a total offense level of 43 per count one alone. That's just for one count. Man, they about to knock his block off. Dude, that's different. I don't know how I would have responded to that. My ops showing up at my court date to make fun of me.
That's some Buster shit, bro. We don't
just to like.
I don't even know. I'm gonna say this, bro.
I know.
I don't even never heard of the homies even going to court to go look at the homie
at my court.
Well, actually, no, not my bad. Actually,
making a mockery of me.
My little brother, blood.
That's gotta add in
a case, and we went up there, me and moms and shit. But
let's see what
I was with his girls and shit, so we're all up there. But
now let's get into what happened in the court.
That's the only time I ever did that. So, I ain't never do that for any of the homies like that.
I'm
like
the first person to walk in the door. I'm at the door, 11 o'clock sharp. I pull the door. He's like, no, I'll let you know when we're in. I'm like, damn, okay. So they like 5 minutes late. He finally let us in. Oh, make sure everyone's phone's off. Oh, no, phone's off. Take out my earpiece now. I'm the first one to walk through. I could see him through the glass. He's sitting right there. I'm the first one to walk in. I said, oh, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey, what's up, man? You know what I mean? He look at me, look away. Buster, scary. Don't even want my guy. He's scared, right? So I go in. I'm front row. We're gonna see what's going on. Cause see, these other minute orders been sealed, bro. So a lot of stuff goes on they don't want people to see for whatever reason. We don't know. You feel me? Anyway, let's talk about his lawyer. So his lawyer. No, first I believe it's a prosecutor. Yeah,
Hell yeah, bro. Okay, because I don't know if you know, and I'll just say a little bit of it. But basically, he gets into it with Big U's wife and sister, and they say, "What you doing here? What you doing here?" He said, "I'm just came to support." And they said, "Come to support who?" And he said, "The court and the jury." So yeah, he really pulled some whole shit for sure, bro. Like, bro, pulled some whole shit for sure. That shit's out. But yeah.
They run a whole list of why he should get denied, right? So when it's his lawyer's time to speak, his lawyer has a problem standing up. So he said, let me get up for a second. Okay, get up. He stands up. And he tells the judge, give me a second. Let me get over here. I guess some type of injury, health problem, whatever it may be. But he was standing up already past Big U to go to the podium to speak how the DA was stern and be able to speak. You know what his lawyer did? No. The judge gave him an opportunity to sit down. He said, you know what? You can present from right there. He said, I guess. And sat down. Right there, when I seen that, I said, this lawyer is not even trying to get this dude out. If that would have been me, I was able to stand up, I would have walked to that podium and presented my case and defended my client with everything I got. That dude sat down next to Big U and was pleading his case. And the other dude stood up. Mind you, they got the thing, they got the speaker. Everything he's saying is loud and clear. He's able to look at the judge right in his face and stand up. This lawyer, oh man, bless his heart. But, so let's get to the meet and greet, right? The lawyer didn't have anything to stand on. His only key bullet point thing to stand on was that Big U surrendered. That's all he had to say good about it. So as we going through this thing, right? You know, the prosecutor said what he say. He get to speak. So the prosecutor said, I don't know if it's DA prosecutor, please correct me on that. He like, not only when he turned himself in, he fled. He already fled, so you can't say turn himself in. They played the video of him mentioning WAC 100 and 600. He said that 600 was with the FBI when they raided his house. He said that 600 and WAC 100 are working with the FBI. Do you know what the district attorney prosecutor said? He said that those are lies and that those people have never spoken with the FBI. Okay? That's what he said. So they used what he said against us, against him. So he said by him saying that 600 and WAC 100 are working with the FBI, he said everyone knows if people in the streets are working with law enforcement, that puts a target on their back. They say that he used that as smoke signals to put threats on our lives. This is what the DA says, right? So then they pull up a next clip. They show a screenshot of a guy who works for Developing Options. You know what it said? It said, free Big U, kill 600, and keep the rest. They put his screenshot up. You know what they said? This guy's an employee that was just seen a few days prior with Big U in the cart on Crenshaw and Slauson with a Developing Options hat who just got hired for him a month prior. Mm-hmm. So they're using all this stuff against him. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff came up. They also said that when they raided his house, they were told that it was a firearm in the house. They asked the father, he wasn't there. The father said, it should be in there, but it's not there. You know, Pop's like, man, I'm 80 years old, bro. I'm not going to jail for that shit. I'm over getting there. It should be there. You know what I'm saying? That's what he said, man. You know what I'm saying? So, with all that stuff, right? So he's definitely being charged with the murder. Y'all remember my video I said a few weeks ago? He's not being charged with one indictment. So that was one of the arguments that Big U's lawyer said. Big U's lawyer said that all this stuff about a murder, there's no police reports, he hasn't been charged with it. Mind you, The DA over there in the cut, like, I'm gonna let you finish. As soon as he finished, you have anything else to say? He comes up and says, no, actually, he is being charged with the murder. I said, oh, he's being charged with the murder? So then they start talking about the murder. They said that the first time they contacted Big U's family about the murder of Rayshawn Williams, he wasn't even a suspect. They only contacted them to see what they knew about him. And Big U wasn't there. The wife was there. They said the wife called from a mother's phone, called Big U, and said, hey, they came asking about Rayshawn.
Now that could possibly hurt Big U. Now that could possibly hurt Big U. Why would his wife be alerting him like they asked about Rayshawn, as if she knows that he knows something about Rayshawn? If that's how the heat got on him, that's how the initial heat got on him. Like they didn't have no clue he wasn't a suspect. And just from that picking up the wife's call, calling him, nasty work.
They got all that.
Sure is.
He wasn't even a suspect.
Sure is some nasty ass
That
work.
made him guilty. That made him a suspect right there. So then they got the guys telling on him, 50 witnesses telling on him. They got suspects that are going to come and testify in court. The dude is cooked. Denied bail. I might have to do another video. It's so much stuff that they say that was almost 2 hours. And I took a mental note of everything. I wasn't able to record. I really wanted to get everything, but just some of the key points I gave y'all. Dude is cooked. Oh, another thing the lawyer said was these people are here to put up their property to bail him out. And he should be fighting this from home. He's not a threat. He's not a flight risk. Everything he said, they debunked it. He said, no, he is a flight risk because he already fled. They said, he just wants a second chance. They said, no, he has a second chance. You know what they did? They read off all these charges. Previously, he'd been arrested for murder. All these charges. They said he's had a second chance. They said something like, this is the paradigm of that, something. I don't know the definition of all that, but they said that. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So, so then the lawyer said, if for whatever reason, and they arguing the fact that let's put them on strict monitoring, no people contact, ankle monitor, such and such and such. And these people are putting up their properties, and if anything was to happen, he'll never get out of jail. Why would you say that? Like, you already admitting to him and never getting out of jail. Like, that lawyer is a dump truck. I'm just being real with you, bro. Like, let me give y'all some game. If I was Big U's lawyer, he never argued. And I just came up with this, thinking about this right now. I would have said, listen, Your Honor, my client is 58 years old. He'll be 59. He's in bad shape. He's over 300 pounds. He has knee problems, health problems. He's not in any position to flee. Everything you have, he hasn't been convicted. He just want to fight at home. Your presentation is everything. It's not about what you say, it's how you say it. And I would have stood my ass up on that podium and presented this and said, look how many people he has here to support him. That lawyer didn't do none of that. He didn't bring up the people in the audience. He didn't have a stern look at, he's sitting down lounging next to his client. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, bro. I wouldn't have hired that dude, but that's part one of what's going on. He's been denied bail. Oh, so did I talk about how tough these guys be talking when they see me? It ain't like that. I don't know. Like, share, and subscribe.
Say this ain't so. Say it ain't so. Say Big U ain't up in that courtroom with a pettifogger.
No,
You know what a pettifogger is? It's an incompetent lawyer.
so the puppy, man.
I hope Big U ain't up in there with no incompetent lawyer. I mean, some of the things that I've heard him accused of, I'm not necessarily a fan of, but I still would like to see, the man have a fighting chance, because we don't know if it's true or not. We don't know how much of this stuff is true or not. So I would like to see the man at least fight for his freedom with a competent attorney. If what Christopher 600 is saying is true, then boy, Big U in trouble.
U.S. financial markets today roiled by Donald Trump and the chaos he has unleashed on the American economy. The Dow is down more than 2%.
All right.
Lee Jr. is heading to trial. Last month, he was named in a 43-county federal indictment, and this afternoon, he pleaded not guilty.
You know, let's see something real quick. I want to see something real quick. I need the one from like 3-4 days ago, bro. There's
Topic today is the Big U Enterprise case, specifically speaking on the detention hearing that I was in present at. And you're not allowed to record in these hearings in the federal building. So you go in, you can take mental notes, written physical notes, stuff like that. But I wasn't really prepared for that. I really wanted to see, look him in his eyes, see what's going on, because previous detention hearings, court proceedings.
hell yeah, Big U marked them out on camera. Yep.
Some of them are sealed. It's not been released to the public. So a lot of things go on in these hearings, and it's a different story by the time it hit the street. So I was present. I don't know if y'all seen my last video. I kind of spoke on a few things that I remember from the court date. Like I said, I couldn't take notes, couldn't record. So, but thanks to Brittany Mejia, hope that's how I spell her name, excuse me if I pronounce it wrong. She's a staff writer at LA Times. She was present, and she kind of picked up on more things that I didn't pick up on, I didn't remember. And she also, what do you call it, the word for, like, said in her story, which is in my story, to let you guys know I wasn't fibbing and telling you lies. Whatever that word is, that's what you did for me. And, the truth is the truth. And you can't lie in a courtroom, it's what it is. So let's go to the first page of it. This is LA Times article. The title is Feds say LA gangster spoke of the Orange Man, wanted Trump to intervene. To intervene in case. Now we've been hearing that he's been reaching out to people to get people to help him out with his bail or whatever he was trying to do. He was trying to reach out somehow, some way. He's on these recorded phone calls. It's just crazy. He's still reaching out and doing things on these, and no one calls are recorded. So let's get into it. You want to introduce yourself? Because I always say something, you got to correct me on how you want to be.
Well, they can call me. I'm not Abdul Aziz, but everybody know me as Eddie Boy.
Okay, so I'm with Eddie Boy. I didn't meet, all these other monikers handled. But anyway, so let's get started. So, from the first page, Big U, Eugene Henley, an accused Crip leader, will remain behind bars while he faces charges of fraud, robbery, extortion, and running a racketeering conspiracy. A federal judge in Los Angeles ruled Tuesday. This was Tuesday was in court. As Henley, 58 years old, sat quietly in a white jumpsuit, U.S. Magistrate Judge A. Gerald Richmond cited the violent allegations against him, including murder of an aspiring rapper and what he called a lot of evidence of obstruction of justice. And according to Henley, to remain in custody pending trial, Richmond said that he was concerned that Henley might flee and that he was potentially a danger to the community. So this was a detention hearing, and they're trying to, he's trying to plead for his case why he should be free. And the U.S. attorney is trying to say he shouldn't be free. So they have to bring up their points. They got to bring up their points. He's arguing why he should be free. And, the versus the other side is saying why he shouldn't be free. So this is what's going on. Okay. In ordering Henley to remain in custody pending trial, Richmond said that, okay, there's no condition or combination of conditions that were reasonably ensure future appearance at court proceedings for the safety of the community. This is what Richmond said before the ruling, before he even ruled. He said there's no.
I don't even want to watch this. I'm not even trying to disrespect nobody or nothing, but this is some bad shit. But it's good. We're gonna go to the other one next after this, breaking it down more.
Future appearance for the court proceedings. You know what I mean? There's no condition or combination of anything that would reasonably assure he would appear in court. This is what he said before he even ruled it. Arturo Hernandez, Henley's attorney, which I saw, he was there, said his client could be confined to his home and monitored electronically. He also cited the fact that his client loved ones were putting up millions of dollars worth of property to secure his release, which he said made it unlikely he would flee. So this is the argument coming from his attorney. Like, man, we got millions of dollars in property we're putting up. You know, this is his argument. You've got to give him a chance, said Hernandez. You know, who was represented cartel members in the 1980s serial killer Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker. So he has a good resume of big cases and big people who are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but he never won none of them cases.
Well, we don't know if he won or not.
I know because this case right here, the Ramirez, Richard Ramirez case, this boy doing all day.
Well, I mean, honestly speaking, he didn't get him released. So I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But keep doing what you do. So this has been the defendant's second chance. Assistant U.S. Attorney Kevin Butler told the judge, so this is what I said in my video. So Big Q's lawyer is saying that you've got to give him a chance. U.S. Attorney Kevin Butler told the judge, this has been the defendant's second chance. Remember I was telling you guys that? So Henley previously served 13 years in prison for trying to rob an undercover sheriff deputy of 13 pounds of cocaine. He was indicted last month on 43 counts, including tax evasion, embezzlement of donations to a charity, which received public money, and running a racketeering conspiracy in which they allegedly kidnapped and fatally shot young rapper named Rayshawn Williams. Henley has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and before turning himself in, he made videos denying the accusations made against him. I ain't did nothing, quote unquote. I ain't did nothing but a help to our community, Henley said on video. This is the price of being black and trying to help somebody, trying to help your community and do what you can. This is what Henley's saying in his video. After the hearing, Hernandez, he planned to appeal the ruling. Henley's wife, who attended the hearing, also at times wiped tears away, declined to comment. Federal authorities said Henley, who helped launch rapper Nipsey Hussle's career, had created an image of himself as an entertainment industry entrepreneur and someone giving back to the community. But behind the scenes, they said it was a different story. Before the court today is self-professed most dangerous man in Los Angeles. This is self-professed. This is what he's saying.
Yeah, self-professed, right?
You know what I'm saying? So Butler, once again, Butler is the U.S. attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Butler said during the detention hearing, the allegations in this case prove that this is accurate description. Do you see what he's saying? The allegations in this case prove that this is an accurate description of his own self-professed most dangerous man in Los Angeles. So they're using his own stuff against him. This is stuff that he professed. It's just crazy they don't use everything against you. Like, you gotta be careful what you call online and put out there. Right. That's the image you're trying to portray. You got to live up to that. In this situation, literally. Okay. Were the court to release Henley, Butler argued, the U.S. attorney, he'd also become the most dangerous man to the case because his entire criminal enterprise is based on fear, intimidation, control. Control of the victims, control of the enemies, control of the witnesses, control of Los Angeles, Butler said. In a federal complaint, authorities likened Henley's Big U enterprise to a mafia-like organization that relied on his stature of long-standing association with the Rolling 60s and other street gangs to intimidate businesses and individuals in LA. More than a dozen alleged members of the Associated Rolling 60 Crips, including Henley, have been charged in a sprawling criminal case. In a brief filed before the hearing, federal authorities alleged that to avoid custody, defendant will not doubt continue his double dealing, as he did to celebrities or donors that he duped into believing that they were helping young, unprivileged athletes chase their dreams, when in reality, they were unwittingly lining defendant's pockets as he embezzled donation for donation. See, all this stuff is documented. I don't know if it's in here, but while I was in the court, they also noted that's documented. He received donations to his development options company of $20,000 $20,000 US, and the next day, 19,000 of those dollars were transferred to his personal account. And it showed no proof of paying anything from the developer options, what the money originally supposed to be for. That's what it says in the paper. Okay. Even in his short time in custody, he has put up old tricks, once again trying to use some of those same celebrities for personal gain, the government said. He has even suggested that he can manipulate the president of the United States into intervening in the case and dropping the charges, even as he simultaneously diversely refers to the president as the Orange Man while in custody. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, man, you know. But let's continue.
My alligator shit.
This court cannot be fooled by the.
Let's do Dodie 6. Damn.
Close the detention doors.
Okay. We here for this video. You don't want to watch the this we already watched that. This right here.
Henley Jr. is heading to trial. Last month, he was named in a 43-county federal indictment, and this afternoon, he pleaded not
We're going
guilty
to
during
Cliff
his
World, though, bro.
arraignment.
We ain't gonna support this guy because he been trying to copyright the bro. So we ain't doing all that, Jack. Yeah, we gonna go to Cliff World, bro. Check out what he got with the Big U. I know he got something with the Big U. It wasn't that long ago. He ain't got nothing with the Big U. That's crazy. Damn. Okay.
Looks like Big U is still up to his ways, even while in federal
15
custody.
hours ago.
The
We're
court
gonna check
paperwork
this out
filed
real
just
quick, and
this
then
week.
we're gonna
Federal
go
prosecutors
to the
say
Dodie
Will
6. That's
is
cool, bro.
trying to get his
Or nah,
celebrity
you tired of
pals
seeing
to
the
help
Big
him
U
out.
shit.
Plus, he's making a big ask, well, a huge ask. He wants the White House to intervene on his case.
I'm Elizabeth Milner with Law and Crime. Big U has remained in federal custody since he turned himself in earlier this month. Now, the feds claim he's running a mafia-like organization, but in a nearly 30-page brief written to the court, federal prosecutors outlined everything he's been up to since he's been in lockup. And they were listening to him allegedly come up with this whole elaborate plan.
For years, Eugene Henley, better known as Big U, likely thought he was untouchable until a sprawling indictment came down accusing him of being the head of a racketeering enterprise. Plus, he's accused of kidnapping and murder and scamming some very high-profile celebs.
I just need y'all prayers. I need y'all to... I don't even know what to say.
Big U does claim he's innocent and that this is a whole big misunderstanding. Plus, he pleaded not guilty to his charges. And like most defendants, he wanted to be given bail so he can fight his case from the outside. But in a 26-page document, which even had a table of contents, federal prosecutors outlined every single reason why a judge shouldn't grant him bail. Literally on page 1, federal prosecutors come out swinging. They wrote, quote, "For decades, defendant Eugene Henley Jr., also known as Big U, has put on a public facade masquerading as a reformed gang member and legitimate businessman whose only ambition was to better his community." But defendant wasn't helping Crenshaw. He was helping himself. In the shadows, defendant was secretly operating as kingpin of a criminal enterprise that has ruled Los Angeles through violence, fear, and intimidation. Now he seeks pretrial release under the guise of his reformed persona, even though his criminal activities have included murder, extortion, robbery, wire fraud, bank fraud, and human trafficking. They're asking the court to keep him in custody for the safety of the community. In the filing, they wrote, quote, "Even in his short time in custody, he is up to his old tricks, once again trying to use some of those same celebrities for his personal gain. He has even suggested that he can manipulate the president of the United States into intervening in the case and dropping the charges, even as he simultaneously derisively refers to the president as the Orange Man while in custody." We're normally not political here, but don't think calling Donald Trump the Orange Man will help him out here. So initially, when the indictment came down, authorities believed Big U was on the run. According to this document, when he received notice of his arrest, Big U allegedly destroyed evidence and attempted to paint a false narrative of his criminality. Maybe federal prosecutors are talking about those videos he posted to Instagram declaring he did nothing wrong.
I'm looking at all these charges on the news. I'm headed back to LA. Then I'm looking at the people they arrested. How you gonna go arrest people that I don't even talk to? That's a built-in liar right there. You know what I mean? So is that how they gonna work the case? Everybody know I don't can it. Everybody know I'm big baby. So if you want to arrest certain dudes, and put them next to me, them is the dudes you gonna have that call themselves turning against me. Well, ain't no turning against me. I ain't going for that. You might as well go get 600 and whack. These dudes been saying I did all year. So what they doing is they go on the internet and these dudes say that I did shit on the internet. Then when you say I did on the internet, they go investigate it. Now you raiding my houses, raiding my shops, raiding all this stuff. And talking about I'm committing crimes and covering up with developing option. What crimes am I committing to cover up with developing option? You know what I'm saying?
Damn, he called the president the orange man. Expect him to help the orange man. That's a good one, bro. That's funny you said that, though.
They get one or two people to say something.
You think it sounds better like this, bro, or this?
Ain't gonna be no real evidence.
Or like this?
No real nothing.
Let's see, wait.
It's gonna be a repeated thug. It's gonna be a
what about this one? Or like this?
Different crimes.
Wait, what about this one? This one's the best one, huh?
It says all around the 60s.
Maybe this one?
Watch it. We just seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the one. Yep, that's clear.
I'm finna experience the same thing out here. I knew it was
That's clear as shit. Yep, it's the one.
Now they on there saying all this stuff to assassinate my character.
Assassinated my character. Yeah.
All right, man.
That is
Just pray for me.
Nigga Biggie, man. Free bro, though, man. I don't think he did all that shit.
They can do any one of us. It ain't nobody safe with these dudes. If these dudes feel they want you, how they going around talking about somebody's gonna raid my house before my house get raided? How they there with the police? And y'all sitting there following them. Everybody that's a part of them shows, them 100 shows, all them shows, and y'all need to, everybody who following them, promoting them, anything. Y'all wrong. Y'all ain't black. And y'all show ain't for our people. They can put charges against anybody.
I want to thank Odoo for sponsoring us. If you don't know Odoo, they're an incredible all-in-one business management software that provides you with a range of apps.
Shout out to Odoo.
They have really cool features like their Projects app.
Shout out to
Managing projects can be tough, but with Odoo's Project app, it really doesn't have to be. Need a clear timeline?
No, we ain't gonna do that. I say I was gonna do the membership, but nah.
The Gantt view maps out your tasks and helps you stay on track. Prefer a more flexible approach? The Kanban view lets you move tasks easily from to-do to done. Or if you like structure, the list view gives you all the details at a glance. Plus, Odoo's comprehensive dashboard keeps you updated on task status, activities, and remaining time, so you're always in control. And with powerful reporting tools, you can track your project's budget, milestones, and profitability in real time. So right now, you can get a free 15-day trial of Odoo's all-in-one business solution and see how it can make your life easier. Scan the QR code on your screen or check it out at rlinkodoo.com/LCNewsProject. Federal prosecutors continue to write, quote, any supporters defendant may offer as sureties will not protect the community. They did not save RW, whom defendant murdered and abandoned in the desert. They did not save defendant's countless extortion and embezzlement victims who defendant terrorized or tricked for years. They did not stop defendant from leaving Los Angeles in the midnight hours before his arrest or hurling thinly veiled threats in the lead up to his surrender. Then prosecutors lay into the allegations stacked against him, like his gang ties. They even point to his interviews he's done. Like in one interview, when he talked about his gang tattoos, he said, "It ain't on you, it's in you." In other interviews, Big U talked about his drug dealing days, taking a percentage of money from illegal activity in the neighborhood, leading the body snatchers kidnapping crew, and then his previous time in prison where he claimed to pay off guards and taking a percentage of drug sales while in the clank. Then prosecutors lay out information in the indictment,
like using his stature to help out the Rolling 60s Crips or portraying himself in the media as a former gangbanger turned community activist with his nonprofit Developing Options. In the filing, prosecutors wrote, quote, defendant portrayed himself as the neighborhood savior in drawing in donations and government resources intended to benefit at-risk youth, but which he oftentimes used to fund his lifestyle instead. Then prosecutors lay out the murder allegations. The government claims Big U murdered an up-and-coming rapper signed to his label who is also close friends with Big U's son. The victim is only named as RW in court paperwork, but we've learned the victim to be Rayshawn Williams, who was previously teammates with Big U's son Dayon, who plays now for the LA Chargers. The government claims the murder went down after Rayshawn and Big U left the studio, then returned to an Airbnb in Vegas. Rayshawn was seen
I'm
leaving the
not saying he
Airbnb
didn't
with
do
his
it because, like I
belongings,
was
and that
saying,
was
he
the
did things
last
like
time
what
he was
those
seen
old
alive. He was
mobsters
found the
in
next
Chicago,
morning
New
with
York was
gunshot
doing.
wounds to his head. Big U
Yeah, I
claimed
mean,
he was at the
he was
gym, but
running
really,
with
who
an
could
iron fist. He was ruling with an iron fist, bro. Everybody knew he had say so. He was on some high power shit, straight up, like moving like a fucking dawn, like the Godfather type shit. So it's not surprising if some of those things that he allegedly did are true. You know what I'm saying? Because he was moving like a fucking Godfather, like the Dawn or something. You know what I mean? So, sure.
goes to the gym at 2 in the morning. But federal prosecutors say Big U's cell phone activity, plus his own words they got from him on a wiretap, prove he's guilty. Then the government lays out the robbery and extortion claims. They allege Big U and his co-defendant, Sylvester Robinson, extorted a victim and threatened violence against this victim if he didn't pay their fees. When victim one, as he's called in the court filing, began to ignore Big U's calls demanding money, Big U allegedly sent armed robbers to rob victim one's dispensary and then demanded $10,000 to prevent future robberies. By the way, the feds are outlining a lot of details and admissions from Big U himself because they had wiretaps on his phone. So how does the saying go? It came from the horse's mouth. Big U allegedly extorted another victim for $30,000. When victim 2 requested to pay $20,000 instead, Big U allegedly responded, "I'll tear that B up. It won't be a club there no more." Big U allegedly sent his 2 co-defendants, Sylvester Robinson and Mark Martin, as well as members of the Rolling 60s, to confront victim 2 at his business and extort 30 grand. Federal prosecutors say the extortion wasn't just to victim 1 and 2, there were more victims. The government alleges Big U used his power to direct others to commit
Dang, he was
violence.
moving
Like
like
on
a
November
fucking, like the Godfather on some mafioso shit. Like, really, like, he was really moving like a Dawn with no but he could touch him type shit. Like, you know how in The Godfather the Don was? You see on The Godfather, like you never seen him actually touch anybody himself. Yeah, other people would do it. Yeah, he's a made man. You feel me?
23rd of 2022, they intercepted a call where Big U allegedly said he could pay 3 people $50 each to beat up
He
someone
was
at a
running the
store
game, but
for
he did help the
refusing to give
children in the
Big U a
neighborhood, send
discount.
some to college.
Prosecutors
He
claim
did
since
good too.
1992,
Oh no,
Big
for
U wasn't
sure.
even
Yeah.
allowed to possess.
He definitely gave a lot of people opportunities and certain shit like that. Yeah, he was doing his gang shit, but he did help out the community. Yeah, for sure.
That's guns because of his felony convictions, which were for second-degree robbery with a firearm, conspiracy, and drug trafficking. And even after his release from prison, he still continued owning guns. The government points to the specific example of Rayshawn's murder, plus other examples of directing others to use guns, like when they allegedly robbed victim one's dispensary. According to the filing, Big U isn't only a physical danger, but a financial danger too. The government alleges hundreds of thousands of dollars from charitable donors and government programs flowed right into the Developing Options bank account, which was where it was supposed to go. But immediately after, prosecutors claimed the money was put into Big U's personal account, and Big U got richer and richer. He drove a Mercedes, he had multiple homes, he took lavish trips, and spent lavishly too, like on a $30,000 necklace. Now, mind you, that money was supposed to go to at-risk kids. According to the filing, it seems Big U pulled the wool over everyone's heads, like politicians, celebrities, and other community activists too. The government says Big U should remain detained because not only is he a danger to the community, but there's a huge risk he won't come back to court, especially since he's facing a maximum sentence of 600 years. Yes, 600 years in prison. Again, on the max end, but that's still a lot of time. The government points to the recordings they have of Big U, his conduct and threats throughout the years-long investigation, and his risk of non-appearance as just a few reasons he should remain in federal detention pending trial. And the judge agreed. So Big U is staying where he is, the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles.
We have lots to unpack here, so I'm joined now by Detective Eric Barnes. Detective Barnes, thank you so much for being here today. You know, Big U has been in federal custody now for weeks, and now we know that the judge denied him bail. But reading the brief outlined by federal prosecutors, it was very detailed, especially as prosecutors laid out everything he's been up to since he's been taken into custody. What's your reaction to the federal prosecution just kind of alleging that Big U is still up to his old ways?
You know, I thought that was very interesting. You know, typically the behavior that people exhibit outside, you know, that the feds weren't surprised that once he got inside prison that it would continue. I think that, you know, typically outside on the streets, an individual has some protection, but inside there's not very much protection. And so federal authorities have access to a whole lot of resources inside their facilities.
Yeah, and making calls on open lines, knowing the federal government is listening to everything you're doing, probably not the wisest decision. But do you think Big U it just isn't understanding the gravity of what he's facing? Because prosecutors say at maximum he's facing 600 years in prison.
600 years is a very, very long time. And I think that, you know, the federal system is very complex and it's not like state system. I don't know if he served any federal time before or if he has any experience with federal time, but that system is very unique and it's not like most state systems. So things that you may be able to get away with on local state levels, you're not going to be able to get away with it on the federal level.
Yeah, and that is just an understatement right there. And what are your thoughts also? I just have to know about Big U wanting help from the president himself. Now, he referred to him, according to these court documents, as the Orange Man on a federal jail line. But do you think that he's just a little bit delusional in thinking that President Trump is going to step in on his RICO case, extortion case, murder case, as he refers to him as the Orange Man?
You know, people in very hot places want ice water as well. So
Yeah, of course I
that's
know who
very
Larry
wishful
Hoover is.
thinking.
But yeah, Larry Hoover, Frank, what's his name? Frank Sylvester, what's his name? Sylvester something, the one that started the Six Star. The Bloods, you feel me? They gave him a gang leader charge too. But yeah, shit for show, what's that shit called? For show, they trying to do him like Larry Hoover, trying to give him like a, you feel me, type shit. But yeah, fool. I'll get right back to it.
Thinking on his end. But I think that in terms of this administration, the president and the Department of Justice have been very clear in outlining what their goals are in tackling organized crime, and it's something that they're taking very seriously.
Are you surprised Big U has been so open on these jailhouse lines, given everything that he's facing, but also
I
knowing that the
don't. When was he?
government is
We never heard
constantly
any
listening
calls.
to him? Why do you think that he just is so open and just so brazen about trying to manipulate the president of the United States?
I have no idea. You know, at the very beginning of those calls, there's a auto prompt that lets the caller and both the calling party and the receiving party on the call know that these calls are being recorded and monitored. And surely he would know, after speaking with his attorney, that federal government is going to be interested in listening to his phone call. So I'm kind of drawing a blank on that one. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's again another understatement when it comes to this entire case. And you know, last time we had spoken about Big U's case in particular, we were talking about just how open he's also been in podcast interviews and interviews for documentaries, all of that sort too. And federal prosecutors point to the interviews that Big U has done where he talks about his OG days. He talks about when he sold drugs and took money from the neighborhood. He talks about when he was in prison before these charges came up, that he used to pay off the guards. Do you think the defense will be able to kind of just chalk this all up to, the defendant was embellishing maybe about the old days and this shouldn't be used against him. What are your thoughts on what the defense will possibly counter to what Big U has said out of his own mouth?
I think that it's very telling because in allegations, you're going to have some people will come forward and say things, and it's going to be very beneficial to those individuals to allege and kind of build up this character of Big U. But when you have the words coming out of his own mouth, I think that is very, very telling, and I think it's very credible, especially if it supports the character that maybe some of the witnesses are building him up to be as well. So it never really plays well on his behalf to have it coming from his own mouth.
Yeah. What do they say? You can't lead or no, that doesn't even make sense. I was gonna say you can't lead a horse to drink water, but the saying about how it's coming out of the horse's mouth. I would, you know where I'm going there. But I remember also when we had first spoke about this case, we spoke specifically also about developing options, the nonprofit Big U founded, and it was supposed to help at-risk youth. And it seemed like the intention was to do good. But as we keep learning more and more and more about these allegations, it seems like Big U didn't really care about the kids, because why would he allegedly steal money to an already underserved community to line it up in his own pockets? Federal prosecutors say he had a Mercedes, he had multiple houses, he spent money on a $30,000 necklace or possibly a chain. What are your thoughts on how lavish that Big U was living, how lavishly he was living while he was supposed to be giving this money to an underserved group of kids? What are your thoughts about that?
It's very sad that individuals that are entrusted to kind of help really understand the struggle from that neighborhood by being from that neighborhood and kind of being the Robin Hood, somebody that's going to speak up on behalf of the people that they are, that they represent, a representative from your own community that is going to advocate on your behalf and talk about the real life issues going on there every day, and the funding that he's receiving to kind of fix some of those issues. He's using it for his own selfish gain. I think that those individuals definitely need to be held accountable. Like it's almost victimizing the community twice.
Yeah, and it's just horrible too. And it's not even just the kids he's accused of taking money from. It's his celebrity pals. It's people like Shaq. It's people like Draymond Green. So it's like he stole from the rich. He also stole from the poor, allegedly. And when it comes to the extortion allegations, Big U is also accused of pretty much paying people to beat up others for disrespecting him or not giving him essentially what he wants. He's accused of pretty much sending goons to beat up people like business owners, or people who tell him no because they wouldn't pay him. What are your thoughts on just this picture the federal government is painting of Big U as being kind of this menacing but also murderous bully while he was pretty much out of prison, as opposed to kind of the persona that Big U tried to portray where he was, the OG turned good activist? What are your thoughts on just that double life he was living?
I think that both sides of that picture match up very well in terms of the allegations. I don't think that the federal prosecutors came up with these allegations on their own. I don't think that it was something they just woke up one day and just said, we're going to go after this guy. It had to come from someone. And typically in these investigations, there's outcries or complaints that start the investigation and get the ball rolling. And sometimes these cases take a while to develop because, these people or characters and defendants are sometimes involved in a whole lot of stuff. So it takes time to kind of build up.
Yeah, like he wasn't
your
supposed
witness
to pay
base.
himself. The
But it
people in
would
the
be very
government
easy
do it all
to
the
go and
time.
talk to some of
Politicians,
the
yeah, that's
individuals
true.
that they
That is
allege
true.
that he's been extorting.
But of
See
course,
if they'd
come
be
on
willing
now,
to
like,
participate
of
or
course they're not
willing to
gonna let him
provide
do that.
information and maybe
They
backstory.
still want the control at the end of the day.
Just even the thought of him extorting people, not just for like $100 or something like that. It's like tens of thousands of dollars. It's a lot of money to be allegedly extorting from others, especially within your own community. In your opinion, though, was it the right decision for the judge to keep Big U remanded to custody pending trial?
I definitely think it was the right decision. That's a powerful tool that the federal government has that someone could be arrested on charges and not make it back out to the streets until after their sentence is over with. And it sends a powerful message to the neighborhood and to the community that maybe on the streets, you're Big U, but inside this facility and inside the federal government, you're just another defendant. And that the federal government's not going to stand for these type of activities.
And it seems like the federal government also just has an overwhelming amount of evidence against Big U. They have wiretaps, they have witness statements, they have victim statements, they have surveillance video, they have money trails. It just seems like a lot of evidence. What do you make of just this overwhelming amount of evidence, given that this investigation did take years?
Well, a rule of thumb is that federal prosecutors typically don't take investigations or cases that they don't think that they can win. Typically, most of their cases are resolved without even going to the courtroom. So for them to come forward and for them to also, speak on this case, the prosecutor was speaking with a lot of conviction on this case when he was describing all the criminal acts that they alleged Big U committed. I would believe, without seeing the evidence, that they would have a ton of evidence against him and that the facts on this case are pretty strong. And I think also by the fact that he's still continuing some of these activities while he's locked up, it just makes their case even stronger.
It seems like literally it was the indictment, the brief, all these court documents seem like they were taken from a Hollywood script. Like I kind of think of, the TV shows like Power, where it's just like Big U kind of was ghost in this scenario. And it seems like, but this here is real life. And Big U faces a lot of time in prison. And he pleaded not guilty to his charges. He claims he's innocent. But, do you really think that he's really going to risk rolling the dice and go to trial?
It would be very interesting to see. Some of the things that he's done so far has kind of surprised me. The phone call that he made and FaceTime that he put out on his way to turning himself in. Also, continuing to having these conversations, even though jail calls are recorded, and also individuals inside these facilities are looking for any reason to try to lessen their sentence. So this is a prime opportunity with someone on a case that's getting this much traction to be able to provide inside information to prosecutors to help them out. I mean, he's done a lot of uncharacteristic things that I wouldn't think that he would have done at this point. So who knows?
And it seems like federal prosecutors are ready to go for trial. Literally, when I was checking the court website, it says that his jury trial is scheduled for May 20th of this year. So that means that's in just a couple of weeks. That's what's on the schedule for right now, pending that it might change. But do you think that the trial will actually happen on May 20th? Or do you think it's possible the defense will need more time and maybe push the trial down maybe a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe even next year?
I think that it's going to get pushed out. Prosecutors typically like to put a date on the calendar just to show that if the defendant wants a speedy trial, they're ready to go. But I think that in terms of his own counsel being prepared to prevent any type of appellate action for ineffective counsel, they're going to need more time to go through this. Years worth of investigation is going to take a long time for them to kind of comb through and look at the small details and try to find something that they can pick apart. So I think this is just more of a preliminary date on the calendar. I think that it's going to extend out probably until next year.
Yeah, and again, it's just a lot of allegations. I think it was 43 counts against him. It's just a lot. So I'd be very stunned if it actually does go on trial next month, but I could see them pushing it to a later date as well too. Detective Eric Barnes, I always want to thank you so much.
No, because there's a song playing off a messenger in my
what do you
fucking
think is
ear.
going to happen next for Big U?
And now it's reporting the call.
This is like the
All right.
the story that just keeps on.
You heard that
keeps on
shit?
giving. There are more things coming out of this case. I think.
All right. Yeah,
as
this
the
stream's about
case
to be over.
progresses and as time kind of goes on,
Spark it
more
up.
people that come
I'm
forward
in
with
there.
information. I think that
Okay,
when
here
a
it comes.
person
You finally got
is
the bleep or
involved
what?
in an investigation like this, your strength of the case or the strength of who you are in the neighborhood is based on the kind of network that you have around you. And so now with federal investigation looming, the main target is in custody.
Yeah,
Federal
nah,
authorities
so,
are going out,
all
they're
right.
knocking on more doors, they're talking to more people, passing out more cards. So I think you're going to have more people calling
I'm
in
gonna
and
come
wanting to
right
clear
now.
their name. And what that typically turns into
Yep.
is them pointing a finger at Big U.
I could see more and more stuff, more and more details coming out in the near future.
Okay,
I'll be
okay.
there to
We got
keep
some
you
real
posted
ones in the
as
house.
well
What'd you
next
say,
time.
Shorty, bro?
Thank
They
you,
act
Eric.
like he was
Or
supposed
thank you,
to play
Detective Barnes. I
himself. The people in
appreciate
the
your time
government do it
today.
all the time. Politicians,
No
yeah.
problem. Thank you for having me.
Yada the
This is Law
Trappington
Reporter Karen,
tapping in.
scheduled for
Shout
May
out to
9th,
Yada
and
the
his trial is on
Trappington.
the
Yada
calendar for
me.
May 20th.
Yeah, I
And again,
got
if he's
social media
convicted, he
here. Hold
faces
up.
hundreds of years
Hold
in
up, I
prison.
got you.
Reporting for Law and Crime,
Give you my
I'm Melissa
Instagram.
Bicknell.
Big developments in the case of Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the man accused of orchestrating the murder of rap icon Tupac Shakur back in the 1990s. All these years later, the former gang leader is behind bars in Las Vegas and is
I put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. All right, we going right to
and he is implicated
the Dodie 6. Y'all stay right here if y'all gonna stay right here. If not, y'all gonna watch it later, man. Let me know some. Actually, damn, there was one more thing about the Big U though that I wanted to watch. We tune into that later. Shout out to Trap though, but shit. See, what was it? Just real quick clip. Was it Flacco? So I guess we're gonna do this one with Flacco real quick, and
There's
then
one man on the planet I
we
wouldn't
gonna
want
go
to be right now,
to
and that's Big U.
shit. Flacco be copywriting shit now. Fuck, can't even use bro's content anymore. We gonna check out Al Prophet.
For decades, defendant Eugene Hanley Jr., also known as Big U,
After
has put
this
on a
is
public
done, then we go into
facade,
the Dodie 6
masquerading as
though
a
for
reformed
surely.
gang member and legitimate businessman whose only ambition was to better his community.
Surely.
But
Okay,
the
nah,
feds
for
wasn't
sure.
helping
Appreciate it.
Crenshaw.
Sure, I
This
will.
is
Yeah,
how
shit.
he
I might
In
have
the
you shit.
shadows,
Try to
defendant
help me
was
set up
secretly
another
operating as
Discord channel.
kingpin of a criminal enterprise that has
And shit
ruled
like
Los
that.
Angeles
And then we definitely
through
gonna be doing a
violence, fear, and
giveaway too
intimidation.
soon when we
Now
trying
he
to
seeks
get to
pretrial release under the guise of his reformed persona, even though his criminal.
we doing a giveaway when we get to 4,000 subscribers for sure. So oh yeah, no, for sure. I know that's crazy, huh? Flacco do be hating and shit. Not just my homie, one of my mods and shit on nigga kosher. He told me bro's shit got copyrighted because of Flacco, and he even gave him his credit and shit. I always give him his credit, but and I'm not monetized, so it wouldn't really mean shit. But it's still copyright me. I ain't trying to have him keep flagging me and shit. So, but yeah, he do be using everybody else's content for sure. But yeah, definitely gonna try to be doing like giveaways and shit real soon. I got merch coming up. Definitely probably try to set up another Discord little channel with the group chat so y'all can send me the content you want to see, just so I'm not just putting everything that the other shit that comes to my table though. But yeah, for sure, Flacciana. What is Trap calling? Pathetic fatso? Yeah. Yeah, words are hard, but yeah, fucking yeah, bro's a mark. Yeah. Shit. When I know he's gonna be hot when he hears me and Trap's diss about him. I wonder when Trap's gonna drop it, but I have to tap in with him. I know we're supposed to do the video in June though. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, shit. We gonna do this and we gonna go right to the Dodie 6.
Criminal activities have included murder, extortion, robbery, wire fraud, bank fraud, and
Go hit
human
this
trafficking.
young little
The
Whitby real
court
quick,
should
man.
see through
Just a little please.
defendants first and keep them in custody for the safety of the community. To avoid custody, defendant will no doubt continue his double dealing, as he did to celebrities and donors that he duped into believing they were helping young, underprivileged athletes chase their dreams, when in reality they were unwittingly lining defendants' pockets as he embezzled donation after donation. Even in his short time in custody, he is up to his old tricks, once again trying to use some of these same celebrities for personal gain. He has even suggested that he can manipulate the president of the United States into intervening in the case and dropping the charges, even as he simultaneously derisively refers to the president as the Orange Man while in custody. So apparently, Mr. Henley has been on the monitored phones, calling up celebrity buddies, trying to round up some money on, and he's been saying he's going to get Trump to pardon him, all the while calling Trump the Orange Man. This court should not be fooled by the good deeds defendant promises to accomplish. If only he could close the detention doors behind him. The truth is that he will undoubtedly cause exponential harm to the case, to the community, and to others if he were released. The defendant should remain detained for the safety of the community, the victims and witnesses. In defendant's own words, quote, if I would have had a problem with any man, the issue would have been resolved and he wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here. Once again, Big U's problems are not the words of loose cannon, they're his own words. Indeed, with seemingly just hours of notice of his impending arrest, defendant had already destroyed valuable evidence, attempted to paint a false narrative of his criminality in the public, and publicly condemned his enemies by name. He cannot be allowed to continue on his obstructive path. Now, 600 went to court. Go over to his channel if you want to watch him break down. Some people like 600, some don't, but he said that the prosecutor specifically said by saying that WAC 100 and 600 were working with the FBI, which the prosecutor categorically denied, that everyone knows in the streets working with the police can put you in danger, so that Big U was threatening Big 600 and WAC 100. So that was brought up. These are all things Big U did to himself. Any supporters the defendant may offer as sureties, that means people that would put up money, will not protect the community. They did not save R.W., Rayshawn Williams, whom defendant murdered and abandoned in the desert. So they're charging him. It was kind of unclear, were they just sort of mentioning the murder? Don't be surprised if Las Vegas pulls them out of federal lockup and takes them to Clark County and gives them a state murder charge. They did not save defendants' countless extortion and embezzlement victims whom defendant terrorized or tricked for years. They didn't stop defendant from leaving Los Angeles in the midnight hours. What a poetic prosecutor. Before his arrest, or hurling thinly veiled threats in the lead up to his surrender. This court should have no trouble finding the defendant represents a danger and risk of non-appearance. With the utmost respect to pretrial services, pretrial supervision is not enough. For the sake of the community, defendant should remain in custody. Now, Big 600 said that Big U's attorney appears to be disabled somewhat, and he was having a hard time getting up and walking to the podium. And the judge said, well, you could just say what you're going to say from the seat. So it was a much less stirring presentation, which simply consisted of saying, well, he's never run from a case before, so you should let him out. Well, he did hide out for 6 hours or 8 hours or destroyed evidence. So he did go on the run briefly. So not much of a defense was offered, or not much of a reason to give a bond was offered by his defense attorney. Statement of facts. Defendant is a dedicated Rolling 60 leader of his own violent racketeering enterprise. Hey, any Rolling 60s watching this, highly advise you to be careful, because they're throwing that word around a lot. They are probably poking around for all sorts of things. But defendant is an avowed and famed member of the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crip Street gang. As early as 92, the LA Times described defendant as the leader of the gang. I've read that article. So in 92, a guy named Stone was killed out in Duarte by the Durack Crips in a reefer deal gone bad. Stone and another guy in the neighborhood who wasn't in a gang.
Oh, shit. That's my wife right there, man. You know, she had to make her quick entrance and shit.
About how he had that guy stabbed up. One of the killers stabbed up, I think, in one of his interviews. As he states in many interviews, when asked about any gang tattoos, of which he has none, it ain't on you, it's in you. Indeed, defendant's gang ties run deep in his blood. Defendant has loudly recounted the terror he instilled for years in various interviews. Defendant recounts selling narcotics. Again, this is this is him talking. This is not loose cannon. I don't. Brick Baby certainly isn't talking about him. He got Brick Baby hot, not vice versa. This is all Big U's own words coming back to haunt him. In various interviews, defendant recounts selling narcotics, taking a percentage of all illegal activity in the neighborhood, leading the body snatchers kidnapping crew, and eventually going to prison where he claims to paid off the guards and taking a percentage of drug sales. I mean, this is worse than a mafia boss. Like, this guy was in charge on the street, in jail, everywhere he went, per his own words. And now, listen, they tell you anything he say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Anyone watching this that's out there making moves, not that I support that, take a lesson, man. Watch what you say. Again, I say this is going to change our little corner of YouTubering. Well, I don't really do many interviews. I just do a few here and there. Guys, better to be careful what they say, even if it's from stuff a long time ago, because even if they can't charge you with the crime, it's establishing a pattern of behavior, which is a RICO. If, 10 years ago, past the statute of limitations, I did this, this, and this. Well, they can't charge you with that, but they can use it against you in a RICO. Now, after an investigation spanning more than 4 years, defendant was charged with running the Big U enterprise from at least 2010. So they went back that far. So this is a 15-year investigation started 2021 with the murder of Rayshawn Williams. But, another thing, 600 said interesting. The police initially went over Big U's house about Rayshawn Williams simply to ask the family what they knew about Rayshawn, what he was into. They weren't suspects. And they heard his wife call him and say, hey, they're over here asking about Rayshawn, which made them suspicious. Wow. So Big U's people and himself were not trained in evasive, techniques. Defendant, blah, 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 at rescue. Despite his life of crime, defendant never wanted to return to jail, so he went to great lengths to involve law enforcement detection, tamper with witnesses. Recent examples of defendant's acts or threats of violence. So just, I didn't say in the beginning, this is obviously the prosecutors taped up a thing they gave to the court before today's bond hearing for Big U, which was, of course, denied. Murder of RW. 2021, defendant drove to Las Vegas with another Enterprise member to confront RW. A rapper signed to defendant's record label was also a close friend of defendant's son and someone defendant had known for years. Apparently upset about RW's lack of studio production and purported diss song. Defendant left the studio with RW in the middle of the night for RW's Airbnb. RW leaving his Airbnb with his belongings was the last time he was seen alive. He was found the next morning with gunshot wounds to the head. Defendant returned to the studio hours after he had left, claiming he had gone to the gym at 2 a.m. Defendant's cell phone, the obstructionist conduct of other members of the enterprise, and defendant's own words and reaction intercepted on the wire prove his guilt of this heinous crime. RW's murder not only demands defendant's continued detention, but cautions against what may happen to other witnesses, cooperators, and victim were the defendant to be released on bond. So they feel they got him for the murder. They're not just mentioning it as something to make them sound bad. I predict they're going to charge him with that. You've heard all this stuff about the dispensaries, the 30,000. I'll tear this bitch up. There won't be a club there no more. Intercepted call defendant's vehicle to call extortion victim right now and stated he would go out there and kill that N-word. February 14th, 2023. Another intercepted call. Robinson told defendant that Robinson told Jew Boy that he owed the Big U Enterprise money. They would allow a payment plan, but if he were not to pay, they were going to shut this MFer down. Power to direct violence. This makes you dangerous in the government's eyes, making them that much more dangerous. Defendant holds power over others threatening and committing violence. For example, November 23rd, 2022, on an intercepted call, defendant said that he can pay 3 people $50 each to beat someone up, and described paying people to mess up a store that was refusing to provide defendant a discount. On April 17th, 2023, on another intercepted call, defendant directed an individual to deliver a message to another reefer dispensary owner that defendant said F him and that he fucked with the wrong guy. Despite a 23-year sentence for armed robbery, defendant stayed armed. Since at least July 20th, 1992, defendant has been prohibited from even possessing firearms based on his felony convictions for second-degree robbery, conspiracy, and dope trafficking, for which he received a 23-year prison term. California, you get about half time your first, so he did about 12 years. So he went in 92, he came out at like 3 or something. Upon his release from prison, he nevertheless continued to use firearms himself, like when he murdered R.W., and directed others to use firearms, like when they robbed Victim One's dispensary. You've heard a lot of this stuff here. Defendant is not only a physical danger, but a financial danger. Defendant's crimes against victims are not confined only to violence. He spent decades creating a facade of a reformed gang member who seeks to build rather than destroy his community. So disguised, defendant used that persona primarily to take from the very community he claims to help, siphoned off much of the money into his personal bank account. Defendant got richer and richer off his fraud by like his extortions and robberies, owning multiple homes, driving a Mercedes, taking lavish trips, and shopping for luxuries like a $30,000 necklace. The money taken from donors and taxpayers' pockets will never find their intended benefactors, the at-risk youth and children of Crenshaw. The damage cannot be undone, but defendant's success in deceiving politicians, celebrities, and community activists, as well as the public at large, further militates. I don't think that's the proper use of that word, Mr. Prosecutor. I'm sure I have a higher score in the GRE than you, but that's another story. Further militates against his release back into that community as he attempts to fund an expensive defense. Defendant is fluent in obstruction. All of it may be founded on crime, but defendant built a charmed life following his 23-year sentence for armed robbery. He does not want to give it up and uses obstruction frequently to avoid that. Destruction of surveillance footage, use of encrypted applications like FaceTime, demands to meet in person, use of multiple phones, orders not to speak to law enforcement, and chastising of any perceived or suspected cooperators. A few are also highlighted here. Defendant instructed a victim's relative that the victim was to, quote, go to the lineup, tell him to pick the wrong person to insulate defendant's associate from the charges. A master manipulator defendant told another associate that to influence the media for his lawsuit against law enforcement, he should show both negative and positive aspects of his life, wear glasses, and say that he was working with developing options, even though he was not. Oh, we got a fraudster. Multiple intercepted calls. Defendant talked about at least breaking a witness's jaw. After fleeing with his phones in the hours before his scheduled arrest in an attempt to intimidate and dissuade anyone from cooperating, defendant posted publicly on Instagram, naming his co-defendants and known opponents, instructing the public not to associate with them and claiming that if they did, they were not black. In an attempt to poison the jury pool, defendant posted on Instagram claiming racial profiling, ignoring that almost every single one of defendant's victims, from RW to many of his extortion, robbery, fraud victims, and the at-risk use, are almost all black, and blaming his co-defendants and opponents for the charges filed against him. So, yeah, that's it. Moreover, is currently charged, defendant faces a statutory maximum of well over 600 years. Even discounting defendant's criminal history due to its age, is currently charged. Defendant faces a likely guidelines range of life in prison based on offense level of 43 for count 1 alone. Mr. Henley. The evidence defendant committed charged offenses is overwhelming and cannot be ignored. History and characteristics of the defendant, yeah. So he was turned down. That was the prosecutor's report to the judge about why he should be turned down. They're going to charge him with that murder, 9 out of 10. I bet you, like as a specific crime, not just as part of the RICO. That would be a good way for someone that's trying to get out of it. But it looks like he did it by himself. But this is so similar, killing a rapper over studio equipment, studio time. It's the same situation he had with Nipsey. So I'm going to recover Big U and Nipsey next. But that's today's update. Big U did not get bond. That's not a surprise, but pretty excoriating description of him from the prosecutor. And it sounds like he's he's tiptoeing towards a murder charge, probably in Las Vegas, out profit American dope. Oh my God. All right, so can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, so a little dark. I haven't been doing a lot of live streams, but people seem to like them. Let's see here. Boom. Okay. So I wanted to talk about what could possibly be the truth behind or of Eric Holder, Nipsey Hussle, and Big U. So let's start with, oh, we got 229 already. Okay. So let's start with, ask you a question. What year do you think Eric Holder is eligible to get out of prison? Anyone? $2034. He can get out in 9 more years. So we heard that he got 60 years in prison, which he did. So you would think, well, the way I think is, when I think about would somebody tell or be an informant or not, it's largely based on how much time they're going to do, right? So if a guy's not going to get out to 2060, I thought, well, if he really had some info on Big U, would he give that instead of sitting in prison for 35 more years or 30 more years? He probably would. But I looked at his California Department of Corrections thing, and his first parole date is 2039. But California has a elderly offender thing, because once you turn 50, you're much less likely to be a recidivist, and you get more expensive, right? As you get older, you have health problems. And fluff my hair here. So actually, when he turns 50, he'll go for an early parole, which is in 2035, which is 9 years from now. He's been in since 2019. So in another 18 months, he'll be halfway done. Think about that. He'll be halfway done, possibly, at least in his head. And what is life like for Eric Holder in prison? Well, when the case was in the news and he was in the LA County jail, he was having some problems. But listen, when you have a murder case, a lot of people have it rough in jail. Like, you always killed somebody's family member. He's not the only one that was getting jumped on. There's people that are in PC. There's people who killed kids. There's people who killed someone who has a big family. There's people who beat up, raped, killed a cop's niece or something. Like, a lot of people have a hard time in jail, not just him. And Eric Holder was, well, someone told me, I don't want to say what they told me, but basically he had done something violent in the neighborhood that was inappropriate. And they told him to get away from the neighborhood some years ago. And he had popped back up in 2019. He had been gone for several years. Now, how would have Eric Holder have been living? So if you're already a gang member, he's not a drug dealer. He took, when Brick Baby was kind of recovering from being shot, he took care of Brick Baby. So Eric Holder was not like a getting money type of guy. A lot of the gang members are not. Like, if you're really a drug dealer, a pimp, hustler, you're going to kind of start to shy away from the gang, because the gang is share and share alike. So Eric Holder probably was sleeping on, to quote Jay-Z, futons and cots. He probably didn't have too comfortable of a life during the years he was exiled from the neighborhood.
So for him to be in jail is probably not as uncomfortable. Listen, when you're sleeping in from couch to couch, sleeping at the dope house, finding random places to stay, jail is less uncomfortable than it would be to someone that was living in a normal way. If you're living in a house, sleeping with a woman, eating nice food, the thought of going to jail sounds pretty awful. But if you're sleeping on a pallet in a house with a bunch of different guys coming and going as trapping or whatever, it's not that much different than jail. In fact, jail's calmer. You may, in a way, prefer jail. So could there be a scenario under which Eric Holder was willing to crash out, go sit in jail for a while, and then be back in good standing and figure, well, I'll get out in 2039 or 2035 anyways? Maybe. So that makes it, to me, a little more possible that there's something in that.
Shit was real
I
quick.
will
She
say,
just ran
I don't know
right
how
up
to
right here to
share-
the camera, like by the chair, and
How
like
can I share
her
the
head right here and
screen?
said, walked out.
Can I share the screen? Pop out dashboard.
Okay. All right, we done, man. We going right to the Dodie 6, man. Everybody that's in the chat, stay in the chat.